encourage people to come up with those solutions.
Hold on. So I want to go back to this because this is a confusing credit. So again, what we're asking you to do is look at what your waste is that you're currently even recycling and identify where it should go. So number one, we're looking at 80% of your waste, or credit number two to get the second part is 100% of your waste. And you're looking at, and you want to document the fact that you're looking at these 12 market categories. So you look at paper. Can I reduce it? Can I reuse it? Now I'm recycling it. Is it going to the best resource? Then you can even look at, am I keeping it domestic or overseas? Then you got to look at the next category and evaluate it. So if you evaluate 80% of your waste on where it's going and you've documented that, that's your point. If you document 100% of your waste by these 12 categories, you know, what can you reduce it? Can you reuse it? Can you refuse it? All of those things. That's what we're looking for. Okay?
So another credit is commodities tracking, and this can be simple. So these are just two examples of what I got back from two of our haulers. Actually, it's from one hauler, but we just simply asked the people who are hauling our recycling, where are you sending it? So for those of you that were on the tour, you saw the glass, you saw the PET strapping, the cardboard, the shrink wrap. All you have to do is just ask them where they're taking it. And then you can go from there and say, okay, well, if you're sending plastics to Ming's, okay, you can call Ming's and say, where do you send plastics? How do you continue to move these commodities? So these are just some letters, and we sent a spreadsheet, you know, with, okay, here's the material you guys are hauling for us, where is it going, and how is it getting there?
And what are the key things about this whole realm we'll get to in another category called closed loop? There's a huge emphasis on domestic manufacturing. How many people here have heard the green fence? Green fence was when China turned off the open welcome gate to their markets last year and said, we're actually going to require you to meet our standards to bring your crap here. And it sent reverberations worldwide about, oh my God, they're not going to just keep sorting everything we send them no matter what shape it's in. They're going to actually have us meet market specifications. Wow, what a crazy idea. And that woke up people to the fact that at some point that may happen on a more regular basis in the future, and that it's now that we need to reinvest in domestic markets so we're not in the situation like we had with the green fence last year, or when the recession hit and there weren't shipping containers going backhauling for free essentially to China. There was a 6-month period where markets completely collapsed. So these have been wake-up calls that we've been fat, dumb, and happy since they turned on China and India industrial manufacturing post-2000. We can't do that. We've got to reinvest our resources locally. We have a whole credit on closed loop, but this is the beginning of it. So to see throughout the credits, there are some things that have reinforced similar messages in different credits. And this is one where domestic is really an important attribute that we want to use to build the zero waste economy at home. We're not against necessarily continuing shipping materials overseas and overseas markets. What are the two largest exports out of Port of Oakland or Port of LA? Anybody? Paper and metals, right. So we're shipping our resources overseas, like a third world country, and buying the products back value added with the jobs over there. The percentage of jobs in manufacturing and recycling is 49% of all jobs in recycling is in manufacturing. So the manufacturing jobs we're shipping overseas. What's the percentage that we're shipping of all of our recyclables overseas? Anybody? 80%. 80% of all of our recyclables are being shipped overseas. So 80% is having 49% of all the jobs in manufacturing overseas. We can do better. We've got to do better. These wake-up calls are something that are really important. The Recycling Bin Coalition, Build Infrastructure Now, was formed a number of years ago with the leadership of the Stockton Chamber of Commerce, Frank Farrell, and the Association of Recycling Market Development Zone officials. We've got a great effort going. They have lobbied the legislature and the state agencies to move into this arena much more heavily than they have in the past. There's state reports now out from the Air Resources Board and the California Cal Recycle, both of which are calling for major investment of funding in the investment in new recycling operations in California for reuse, recycling, composting facilities. So we've got some great progress about to begin, but that's why part of the reporting is to look at domestic versus shipping export, and later on we'll give credit in addition for closed-loop systems. Marie?
Oh, I just wanted to add that a lot of, Maureen Hart. I just wanted to add that a lot of times we use, we've cut back our waste by this percentage, but we really have offshored a lot of our waste in manufacturing. We need to account for that and do something about it. By bringing it back, that's a way that we can do the closed loop, but also account for our waste.
So you want to mention the contamination rate calculation in response to that? Or, yeah, we'll get to that point.
Excellent, thank you. So this next credit is zero waste reporting. There are 4 points available to it. I covered a lot of that during the baseline and methodology. It's looking at your commodities, it's tracking your landfill disposal cost, it's tracking baseline year, so year over year you even want to look at it. Incorporates the climate change report using the EPA's WARM model, as well as being members of the United States EPA, which has an outstanding WasteWise program, as well as, you provide your data on an annual basis, and there's no charge for that, and it helps them put together some of these numbers. So, most of the other 2 items you really don't have a lot of questions on. They're pretty clean cut with your reporting. It is looking at the WARM model. I showed that very briefly in the environmental benefits model that I was showing about reduced greenhouse gas. It reduces your oil, cars on the road, etc. And then this is the WARM model working with the EPA. And they have a lot of documentation online. They just posted 2012 data, I believe, which says that the diversion's gone up another point or 2, which is just horrible. But anyway, this is about an aircraft manufacturer in Wichita, Kansas. They wanted to show their environmental benefits on their efforts of reuse and recycling. They entered the solid waste and recycling numbers into the WARM model, and the model gave them a number of outputs that they then used in their annual sustainability report that was a corporate report. So this data actually is very helpful. Then this is just another part of it with collecting data. They analyze it. They have some great tools. Retrack is usually our data is due around March, and they're redoing their tool this year, but Retrack is the company that they're doing that with. But this is the website to get online, but it's really easy to Google as well. And then the benefits are the WasteWise Awards. They look at different company sizes. They do public recognition, as well as outreach and education materials and free technical assistance, as well as reduced purchasing and disposal costs. So you actually track all of that information, and they will give you bar graphs and everything after you've been involved for a couple of years. So, are there any questions?
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to step in there for a second. Is anybody in here currently a WasteWise member?
Oh, come on, you guys, really?
No? You're shaking your head no.
You have to be a business.
You do, yeah, there's a lot of business.
Yeah.
No, they expanded it.
There's a lot of businesses in the room here.
But what I'm saying is that I was dealing with them directly for our project, and there was some limitation. You think it's changed since then?
So for those businesses in the audience, I recommend being a WasteWise member. We joined years ago. And if you do have struggles, especially getting your upper management to buy into the recycling programs that you're trying to put in place, WasteWise provides additional tools to help you kind of prove your case. They give you some great greenhouse gas reduction equivalents, cost savings, and they will equate that into things that are tangible and understandable for that upper management. Like by recycling this much, you're removing this many vehicles from the road, or the equivalent of this much gasoline. So they have some nice little talking pieces in there if you do have those struggles with your upper management.
And the WasteWise is open to all different entities, colleges, communities, individuals, basically can plug into the WasteWise. It was geared up for business. It's more business oriented than most EPA programs, but the tools have been developed in a way that can be used by others.
And the tools are also good for double counting, because if you are reporting your information into WasteWise, that's the same information that the U.S. Zero Waste Business Council is looking for your site certification.
So any questions on those before we go into diversion? Okay. Diversion, this is what we went over a lot in Sue's presentation on baseline. The basic requirement is being over 90% diversion from landfill and the environment. The way we set it up is so that there's multiple levels, so that if you're going to the next step, you're getting additional credits. Unlike some things, the last percentage or two is not necessarily as hard as it is in like wastewater treatment or air pollution control, but it's still harder than getting to 90%. So you'll see that the credit one is 90 to essentially 95%, and then each one above that is that incremental piece that's a little bit harder to get to. But a total of 5 credits could be gotten from the diversion. It's tracking materials by weight and type and month and annual average. Sue went over all this. Sierra Nevada has info.
So this is our diversion spreadsheet that we use. And I am happy to share this with anybody afterwards if you would like a copy of this. It took us years to build this, and we're still tweaking it and making changes to it. But this is a spreadsheet that we use to track our diversion. There are multiple tabs that you can't see here in this slide, but essentially the highlighted piece at the bottom there, you're looking at the overall diversion rate. So I talked about it, I don't know if you talked about it at the touch screen, the 2 different graphs. So we do track our diversion 2 different ways. We are sending truckloads of spent grain out of here every single day, and those giant volumes of spent grain really skew your numbers. So that becomes our public reporting number, because that's how everybody in our industry reports diversion, and it is truly diverting it from landfill. However, it really skews our numbers. So I don't think I included it. It's not on this one, but I can share it with anybody afterwards. So we are tracking it excluding spent grain, and that's about 95, almost 96% diversion rate. So this is 99.8%. It is really, really hard to get excited about 0.1%, but if you can rally that excitement for 0.1%, good for you.
Okay, and an example given here is electronics manufacturer with product return and refurbishment facility in Sacramento. Were to document the materials. They collected weight tickets from all vendors with line item detail on a monthly basis. The front load bins not weighed separately, so they used the conversion factors, and they found the diversion equals dividing the tons of material diverted through reduction, reuse, recycling, and composting by total tons generated, and came up with their calculations.
Are there any questions about it? Pretty simple. Okay. Zero waste purchasing. This is a lot of information. And it's truly you documenting your processes. You want to have an environmentally preferred purchasing guideline and policy. That the guidelines and or policies that we're asking for, and you're going to see a lot more of this in the detail, does not have to come from upper management. It has to be something that you're working with teams of people. It might just be one person, or it might be a large group that you work directly with them to say, we want to purchase the right thing. We're in the process right now, we're looking at green vehicles. And so you've got to, who's going to set up the guideline? Who's going to make the recommendation? And it's just, you know, depending on who your process is with, but we want to have a policy in place. You want to have something about durable goods, as well as paper and wood purchasing, electronic. We'd like to have your purchasing catalogs electronically, and making sure that your purchasing agents are actually very much aware of your green preferences. We want to have systems in place to track the purchasing of those environmentally preferred items, as well as a guide, policy, or standard, you're going to see that a lot, in place that gives priority to the purchasing of used, refurbished, and or remanufactured goods. We want to try and repair as much as we can versus tossing it aside and buying new. And then the last 3 points are just how you set up your process. So if you've already gotten the point for buying green toilet paper, then you can't go and get another credit for buying green paper towels. But you can if you go and you look at, I want to buy printers that are refurbished plastics, or yes. So I don't know, you guys probably, I'm a little weird, but in the bathroom there was a couple rolls of toilet paper. I'm not taking this home, by the way. And no, I don't need it, but thank you.
You touch it, you own it.
Huh?
You touch it, you own it.
I'm okay with that. It's got a wrapper on it. But why am I looking at this? Anybody have an idea?
Recycled content.
Okay. Recycled content.
Where it's manufactured.
Where it's manufactured. Anyone else? Individually wrapped is a custodial preference. As long as when they're undoing it, they recycle it. There is a core in here. I don't know if you guys noticed that in the bathroom. You can buy coreless toilet paper. You want to watch, and I'm going to tell you guys ahead of time that you want to watch that you don't buy the very bottom row of quality on coreless toilet paper. It's really bad. You will get complaints, and then then your management won't let you buy coreless toilet paper. Where I'm getting at is the price of toilet paper and recycled content. Actually, this costs more than a roll of toilet paper that isn't recycled content. But if you're trying to evaluate, sometimes you can look at one quality less on the recycled content, and it'll be pretty good quality. Nobody will notice the difference, and now you can buy a green product. Depends on how your budgets are looked at. The other thing that's really nice about this, because the EPA usually has a stamp on it that says that it's qualified, it's part of the LEED process as well. So, you know, it's looking at those products and what they generate for you. You want to track those products, setting up your processes so that hopefully people are only buying what's approved, and looking at tracking your numbers. So if you were working on a LEED project, you're tracking your green toilet paper, you're tracking the percentage of all of your chemicals that you're using, because there's green chemicals. At this point, green chemicals are the same price as the toxic ones. So if somebody says, oh, it's going to cost you more, you want to really look at that, because typically they are not more expensive for cleaning products. And I'm talking commercial cleaning products. But you're tracking that, what you're spending, what percentage it is, and always trying to do better. You want to track the use of environmentally preferred products. So you have a policy of buying, selling, and using environmentally preferred paper limits is an example for Hewlett-Packard. And they actually look at these business groups, look at it by regions and functions on how they conduct their assessment tools and get their goals and action plans. On credit 5, continuing on, this just talks about key reporting. You know, recycled content they look at the fiber. Some of them even look at the chain of custody of where it's been certified. FSC, there are actually rice hulls, new types of toilet paper and paper products that are out there. So they're really looking at renewable resources versus paper now. Look at how it's handled. You know, one other thing is when you're buying paper, how many of you guys look at your reams of paper? Does it come in that crappy cellophane material, or is it coming in a paper binder on it? And that can be recycled. most people are throwing that into the trash because it's got a little bit of moisture on it, but that surely can be recycled. You know, you want to look at the priority of what you're buying for reusables.